When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Answers generally range anywhere from a policeman to a doctor. Maybe it was something even crazier, like a spy or a secret agent. Spies have played such a vital role in the history of our nation. The Culper Spy Ring, the first spy ring in American history, helped to change the course of the Revolutionary War in favor of the colonies. If it hadn't been for this brave ring of spies, we may have been speaking in British accents and sipping tea to this very day. I recently watched the TV series Turn, which is based on the Culper Spy Ring. The history behind the show really intrigued me, and as I began doing research, I learned some very interesting things regarding the group. Today, I would like to discuss the formation of the ring, their methods of operation, and the actions they carried out. Let's start with a discussion of the formation of the Culper Spy Ring. The Culper Spy Ring was formed in order to gather valuable intelligence regarding the British forces stationed in New York City. At the beginning of the war, intelligence for the Patriot Army had a tendency to be very unreliable. In preparation for a British attack on the Patriot-held New York City, General Washington began heavily fortifying the city and planning a defensive strategy. Up until that point, the American Army knew little to nothing about the size or strength of the powerful British Army. Very untrained scouts or soldiers who simply overlooked the British forces from a hill outside the city gathered most of the intelligence for the American forces. This lack of suitable intelligence and sheer underestimation of the strength of British forces led to a crushing defeat for the Patriot Army. During the early campaigns of the war, the British gained control of a heavily fortified New York City. After the devastating loss of New York City, Washington finally deemed that intelligence was actually important for a Patriot victory. Washington had dug himself into a hole, however. He had recently lost ground in the current campaign after losing another big victory at Philadelphia, which was now under British control as well. The French came to the rescue, though. The recent Patriot alliance with France now allowed the American army to compete with the powerful British Royal Navy. This upper hand in the war would finally give Washington the chance he needed to organize an intelligence system. This, however, would prove to be no easy task. According to Edward Lingle, for all the enthusiasm with which they took to espionage, Washington and his officers were still mostly amateurs, like children engaged in a dramatic game, with the commander-in-chief in many ways the biggest child of them all. So, who would be in charge? In 1778, the Culper Spy Ring first began operation under the command of Major Benjamin Talmadge. This new spy ring included the following people: Robert Townsend, Abraham Woodall, Austin Rowe, Anna Strong, and Caleb Brewster. Many of these people were from Talmadge's hometown of Setauket, New York. Now that we've discussed the formation of the group, let's discuss their methods of operation. The Culper Spy Ring had a very interesting system of operation. According to spy letters of the American Revolution, the following system was used in order to get information from New York City to General Washington in upstate New York without being caught. Austin Rowe would occasionally visit the small shop that Robert Townsend owned in New York City to buy goods, but he would actually gather information regarding the British soldiers stationed there. Rowe would then ride his horse undetected 110 miles to Setauket, New York, where he would drop the information he had at a field that he had rented to tend his cattle. Abraham Woodall would then recover the letter, add his own intelligence to it, and look across the bay to see if Anna Strong had placed her black petticoat on her clothesline. The petticoat indicated that Caleb Brewster had reached Setauket in order to pick up the intelligence. Under the cover of darkness, Woodall would then sneak to the cove and give Brewster the message. Brewster would then row to Fairfield, Connecticut, where he would relay the message to Benjamin Talmadge. Mounted horsemen posted every 15 miles all the way to New Windsor, New York, would then relay the intelligence to Washington. Benjamin Talmadge was also very concerned with the safety of the ring. He developed several methods for protecting their identities and secrets. The spies used invisible ink to write messages. They didn't use their own actual names and were given code names instead. Abraham Woodall would be known as Culper Sr., Robert Townsend would be known as Culper Jr., Benjamin Talmadge would be known as John Bolton. Talmadge also developed a series of numbers to represent certain items of intelligence. According to Culper Spy Ring, Digital Encyclopedia, Washington was denoted by 711 and New York by 727. Since we've discussed how the ring operated, let's finally discuss their success in the war. According to George Washington, America's first spy masters, 2 episodes in particular proved the worth of the Culper Spy Ring. In November of 1779, they discovered that the British planned to counterfeit money identical to American currency, which they would pass off to British empathizers in Connecticut to pay their taxes. The operation was quickly put to a stop thanks to the ring. The second operation they uncovered involved the French landing in Rhode Island. The ring gathered information that British commander Sir Henry Clinton, stationed in New York City, knew of the supposedly secret landing and planned to attack the British forces upon landing. In order to deceive the British, Washington arranged for a fake letter to be intercepted by British spies that said the Patriot forces planned to attack New York as soon as Clinton deployed his forces. Fearing an attack, the letter prompted Clinton to stay in New York City and allowed for a safe French landing. In conclusion, the Culper Spy Ring played a large part in American history and was a vital role in the Patriot victory of the Revolutionary War. We have discussed several different aspects of the Culper Spy Ring, including how it was formed, how its members operated, and its success in the war. Now that you have learned about America's first organized spy ring, you know how truly important the Culper Spy Ring was to our nation's history. Without its brave members, we may not have won the war and become our own independent nation. If it weren't for the Culper Spy Ring, it may be about time for my afternoon tea now.